Just wanted to show you a little overview of what the garden looks like. There's not a whole lot left. You can still see we still have some beans. Keith planted mustard. We have potatoes still, and tomatoes and pumpkins. It's just coming in slowly now instead of like all at once. So we've got a 5-gallon bucket of the Granny Smith apples. They wasn't sprayed, they're just homegrown apples. So they're not real big in size. Huh? They're good.
Granny Smith.
We planted Granny Smith?
Yep.
So all we did to preserve these apples was wash, peel, and use a slicer. We cut them up a little smaller than what the slicer does, and then we put them in vacuum seal bags, vacuum sealed them, and put them in the freezer. And we'll just use these for fried apples, apple pies, stuff like that. And I think I got 10 containers or 10 bags, which will be about 20 servings. So these are my aromas, and I'm going to use them for tomato. Well, I'm going to use it. You can use them for tomato paste, but I'm going to use them for pasta sauce. And I'm just going to put them in the oven. I've already washed them. These little berry containers that we get our strawberries in are great to just wash them and drain them all in one container. But I'm just going to slice them and put them in the oven till the skins start to blister. So now the skins will just slip right off. I've got my crock pot here. I'm just gonna put them on low for a couple hours. And I'll just add sugar, pepper, salt, and some Italian seasoning. So you can add garlic if you want to. So once I get this crock pot full, I'm gonna use them on low and let it go for about 6 hours, 8 hours. Tray number 2 going in the oven. So they cooked about 5 hours on low, and I kept smelling this smell, and I thought, oh, I had burnt them, but no, I haven't burned them. The crock pot just busted. I haven't had this crock pot probably 2 months. I don't know what happened, but I'm gonna transfer them out into another pot. Then I'm gonna use the immersion blender. Then I'm gonna add all my spices and blend it up again. I'll show you what it looks like when I get done. Just using the slotted spoon. These tomatoes are great for tomato paste, tomato sauces. I'm gonna do a little bit of both. And then I've got my other tomatoes, which are the celebrities, that I'm gonna be using for salsa. And maybe some just tomatoes, stewed tomatoes. And I don't mind the seeds being in mine. Sometimes I strain them out in the salsa, but I don't mind it too much in the pasta sauce. And I do not can this. I don't like it canned. I've canned it before and I didn't care for it. I like it frozen. I don't really like doing it on the stovetop either because I'm afraid it's gonna scorch. So I'll have to stand right here with it. Look how pretty and thick. So, okay, I'll show you just by cooking them about 5 hours on low in the crock pot. That is minimum effort, and it's really good. Let me add my little seasonings, and I'll add a lot to it. I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of sugar. I'll just use the Walmart brand Italian seasoning. Add in salt's about out. That's about a teaspoon of salt. And I'm gonna add in some fresh black pepper. Stir. Probably have to add a little bit more salt. I'm gonna taste it first. One teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of black pepper, 3 tablespoons of sugar, and 1 tablespoon of Italian seasonings. I'm just gonna fill a freezer bag with like 4 to 5 spoonfuls. That's enough for 2 people. That way you're not thawing out more than you're gonna use. And I just lay them down flat and let them freeze. Press out all the air. I'm getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 meals out of that one. Plus we ate dinner out of it, so actually 8. That's not bad for a little bit of effort. Okay, so our garden is still going strong with our zucchinis and our squash. This is a great big bowl. I don't know if you can tell. I'm going to pickle these. I've shredded them and I froze a bunch. So now I'm going to take my half-gallon jar. I've already got some of the pickling liquid in there, and I'm gonna make some more. After I've already got some of the red onion and the green pepper in here, and some of the pickling liquid, which is just vinegar, sugar, hot water, salt. But I'm gonna wash these up and see how many will fit in here, and I'll probably have to make up some more brine. Okay, I got them good and washed. Just gonna cut. These to me are the perfect size zucchinis, but if you leave them like smaller than this overnight, then you'll go back the next day and they'll be this size. So if any of them gets overlooked, that's what you're gonna end up with. Just gonna cut these in chunks. You could also, if you wanted like a dill pickle one, you could use the Mrs. Wager's. This is more of a sweet refrigerator pickle, and that'll last a couple months in the fridge, but it never lasts that long here. Keith gobbles them up. Okay, I've got a green paper that I want to use up. It's going soft. And I'm gonna just slice it up. I've washed it, and I'll put that in there. I'll have to get Keith to sharpen my knives. Now, the longer you leave these in this vinegar, brine, whatever you want to call it, pickling. It's not really pickling. I don't guess. Maybe it is. I don't know what you call it. I call it a brine. The longer you leave it in there, the better taste it's going to have. And this has to be refrigerated if I didn't say that before. So now I'm going to make some more brine to finish filling it up. It's just sugar, water, and vinegar, and salt. I don't need a whole lot. Okay, I just brought the liquid to a boil, and I just used, for the little amount I needed, I just used 1 cup of water, a 1/2 cup of vinegar, 2 tablespoons of sugar, and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And I'll just make sure that's all covered. Put it in the fridge. I'm gonna give it a little shake. Put it in the fridge for at least a week to let all those flavors. Put it in the fridge for at least a week to let all those flavors marry. So I got all that 1/2 gallon of pickles made, but I still have all these. What I'm thinking I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut these up in chunks, peel them, the zucchini, peel them, chunk them up. I'm gonna cook them down till they're good and tender. I'm gonna use the immersion blender, blend them up, and I'm gonna add some pumpkin pie seasonings. So I have all these washed. I'm just gonna peel them right quick. Try not to cut my hand off. I'll just freeze this and write pumpkin. Substitute like for pumpkin bread and pumpkin muffins. I think it'll work just fine. Pumpkin cake. And all these will go to the chickens. They'll enjoy them. Okay, I've got them washed and peeled good enough. I've got a few spots I need to still get. And all these scraps the chickens will love. Now I want to make sure there's no seeds in here, which I'm using the immersion blender and I'm cooking it, so it should all cook up. I add sugar too, so I'm not going to add any sugar, just going to add, because you know regular pumpkin doesn't have sugar. I've already made some mock pineapple too. I made that earlier in the season. And another way you can do it to get all that inside out, if you don't want to put that in there, is just take a spoon. Here's my scrap bowl. And it gets all the seeds, and you're just left with like the good, I call it meaty parts. Okay, I got them all chopped up. I'm gonna put a lid on them and cook them for about 20 minutes. I'll check them after 15 minutes, but probably about 20 minutes. And then once they get done, I'll drain them, and then I'll add the spices and do the immersion blending, and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, I cooked them about 18 minutes with the lid on high, and just kind of checked them to make sure they were fork tender. I drained them. Now we're gonna go ahead and use the immersion blender, or you can just put them in a food processor, mash them down with the potato masher, whatever you want to do. I'm gonna add in 2 teaspoons, heaping teaspoons of the pumpkin pie spice. Now we're just gonna, okay, it smells so good. It kind of resembles, it looks more like applesauce, but smells like pumpkin pie spice. But it's gonna be fine. It's gonna work in our muffins, our cakes, everything. Okay, since most recipes for pumpkin call for about 2 cups I'm gonna go ahead and do 2 cups in each freezer bag. Just wanna make sure everything, I'm trying to go slow and make sure everything's good and incorporated. Okay. We'll just, this is what it looks like. It's a really pretty color. I know on camera it's not really picking it up, but you can see all the spices. But I'm gonna lay this out and leave a little vent on the side to let it cool for just a little while. And then I'll put it in the freezer flat. That way it will freeze flat. So I decided to put some in a jar also. I'm just gonna put it over in the fridge, and that way I'll have it to use sometime this week to make a mock pumpkin dessert. So we got 4 servings out of those giant zucchinis. That really wasn't, I could have shredded them down, but we had plenty of shredded already. We got 4 servings of the mock pumpkin. And I've got a little over 4, so I'm gonna go ahead and put it in the freezer too. I can put it in something. Welcome back, I'm Tasha. I thought I would bring you guys along this week. I'm gonna participate as much as I can in the Every Bit Counts challenge. I only done 4 days this week. Wasn't feeling my best. We've all caught a virus around here, but we're just plugging through, getting as so the garden is not as busy this time of year. Just a few things are trickling in once we got the corn put up. But I did include, so here's some things we did this week. I'm going to show you here on this day how I'm going to pickle. I had some leftover corn. We picked like 700 ears of corn, and I left 5 dozen in the cold room, unshucked, and we've just been eating through it this last week, and I had about, I think, a little over a dozen, 2 dozen left. Let's see here. I just had it over in the fridge, and I'm gonna make some pickled corn for tea. So here you go. There we are. This is the Honey Select. And then I also showed you how to make pasta sauce. So this is not going to be in order because this is day 4. So the first day we got a 5-gallon bucket of Granny Smith apples. And I just showed you how we cut those up, vacuum sealed them, put them in the freezer for fried apples, apple pie, fried pies, or whatever. I think we ended up getting about 10 of those, 10 servings, which usually it's big enough that we'll have it the next day too. So it usually equals out to be about 20 servings, I guess. The second day, I made pasta sauce. My homemade pasta sauce. I had some Roma tomatoes coming in. I wanted to go ahead and use them up. It's super simple, and I freeze it. I don't can it. I don't like it canned. I canned it for years, and we just really didn't like it. So I tried freezing it, and that's a game changer. I really like it that way. Day 3, had a bunch of zucchinis that needed to be used up, and squash. So I made some zucchini and squash pickles, and then I also took some of the larger zucchinis and cubed them up and made like a mock pumpkin pie, like a mock pumpkin that you could use like for muffins, cakes, pumpkin rolls, or whatever. And today I'm going to be pickling some corn. So I'm excited about this challenge. I'm excited to see everyone else's creations, and I can get some ideas off them. Maybe they can get some ideas off me. But I was going to include salsa in this video because I've got a ton of our celebrity tomatoes that need to be used up, but I just don't think I'm going to have time, so it'll probably be in next week's video. But I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a blessed day. All right, so I'm going to wash this really good, remove the silks, and cut out any bad spots. There is some bad spots on these. And then I'll show you how I'm going to pickle them. This is an old recipe, and it's really simple. And it only requires salt, warm water, and corn in a dark, cool spot. Okay, so now I have it washed and cleaned. I'm going to cut off the bad spots and I'm going to put it on to boil for about 15 minutes. And then I'm going to let it cool down. And then we'll move on to the next step. So while my pot is filling up, I'm just going through and seeing if there's any bad spots I need to cut out, like this one. I'll cut that out. We don't want none of that in our pickled corn. And it's easier to cut it out now. I'm gonna fill my cooker and get it on to boil for about 15 to 20 minutes. So I have all my jars washed and ready to go. We're just waiting for the corn to finish up. And then once it finishes up, all you need is warm water, the corn cut off, and for pints, you need a teaspoon of salt. So I'll show you how I put this together. And remember, it's like fermenting. It's, well, it's pickled, not fermenting. So remember, it's pickled. So it's like when you ferment cabbage or make sauerkraut and you put it in a crock or whatever, you don't need to can this. And you leave your lid on loosely. Put it on enough to where a bug couldn't get in, but also that it works a little in a cool, dark spot. Okay, so it cooked and now it's still a little hot. I'm trying to let it cool down a little bit so I can cut it off. But I've got my jars washed. I'm ready to cut it off. I'm gonna get some water on so it will be warm and ready to go. It's messy. This is still a little too hot. I'm gonna have to give it a minute. Okay, so we got a whole pile of corn here. Got it cut off. Now we're just gonna start filling our jars. I've got some water warming up. Keep my eye on it and make sure it don't. No, I may have overfilled that. You don't want it to be like crammed in there because it has to work a little. You may just do 3 and eat this. Now we're gonna put in, I'm just gonna use the Himalayan pink salt, 1 teaspoon. Add a little bit more. Go. And you can add jalapeno, you can add peppercorns, you can add red pepper flakes. There's several different ways you can do it. So I'm gonna go ahead and add the hot water, or the warm water. So now I'll just put it in a cool, dark place for 4 to 5 days and let it start pickling.